everyone, I'm back with the fourth episode. The story that I'll read out today is called She Worked in a Spa. It will give us a little glimpse of the lives of people from the Northeast who have been living in Delhi. I have lived in Delhi for many years, and I must say that the city has been very kind to me. I'm very thankful to it, but there have also been people who have been not so fortunate. So today's story is also about that. This story was first published by Writers Asylum in 2012-2013, but I've done a few edits to the story to read out today. She was quiet, shy, and highly attractive, and she lived like she never belonged there. We lived opposite each other in flats set upon a narrow lane at Malvinagar Khidki Extension, one of the many bustling and bursting middle-class colonies in Delhi. Our balconies almost touched one another, jutting out of our fourth-floor flats. Often we passed miles from our balconies, even exchanged a few words at times. I was living there for 3 years. She came a year after. I was putting clothes to dry in the balcony when she arrived in an auto rickshaw. Behind it came a small van with a bed, a wooden almirah, 3-4 suitcases, a chair, a table, and 3 buckets full of utensils. From all the stuff that emerged out of the auto rickshaw and the van, it seemed she must have been around in the city for a couple of years. I saw her arrange her rooms from my room behind the balcony. We all lived in 2-room sets, rooms that were set one after the other like train coaches. So our bedrooms were partially visible from the other side, despite the curtains put up for privacy. She often moved about her flat in shorts that highlighted her beautiful legs and tank tops that clung to her beautifully toned body. Her skin shone like gold, and there was something extremely attractive about her. No wonder she flaunted it, I thought. But with time, as I understood it, she wasn't flaunting her beautiful skin and body, she was just being herself. The way she walked and talked complemented the casual manner of her dressing. She was even friendly in a very casual way, as if she couldn't decide if she liked me. Given the proximity of her dwellings, I invariably caught up with the little details of her life, talking on the phone for hours as she looked at life in the streets below, shampooing her hair and toweling it dry or coloring it late in the night, the almost every other night ritual of applying nail paint that gleamed through the gaps that the curtain failed to fill. Often she hosted parties too. Those days and evenings would be flooded with people who had eyes like her and who spoke a tongue I couldn't decipher. From the Northeast, yes, but which part of the Northeast were they from? I am from Gwalpara, a town in Lower Assam, with much proximity to Bengal in physical as well as cultural sense. After school, I completed my studies from Presidency College, Kolkata, and Indian School of Mines, Dhanbad. Thereafter, I came for my first job to Delhi. Hence, the trajectory of my life has been such that before encountering the balcony that almost touched mine in Malvinagar, I'd never met many others from the rest of the Northeast, like those boys and girls singing and chatting and strumming their guitars. The noises created by them did not much create a stir in the already noisy neighborhood. There were vehicles flying past in the lane below, although it accommodated only one vehicle at a time. So many a time during the day, one could hear screams and curses as 2 vehicles came face to face, none wanting to be the one to back out. Then, there were times when I had to rush to shut the balcony door. A stench would come wafting from her flat. "That's akuni," a Naga colleague of mine said when he came visiting. "Fermented beans, very tasty, but it is an acquired taste like bamboo shoot." The next day was a Sunday, and we saw each other at our balconies. She was there with her clothes to dry, and so was I. We smiled at each other as we put up the clothes on the line. "You from Assam?" she asked me. Yes, I smiled. "You?" "Nagaland." And that's how our friendship started, with the exchange of smiles and a few words from the balconies. Unfortunately, it never went beyond the balconies. We introduced our cultures a little to each other through our balconies too. I learned about the Tetsio sisters from her as the music played in her bedroom and fell in love with their Rossi, just as she picked up a few songs by Bhupen Hazarika, Jayanta Hazarika, and Papon from me. "The eldest of the Tetsio sisters went to school with me," she had once posted. I felt I needed to show off too. Papon and my cousin were neighbors here in Delhi. I beamed. Those were the days, when Papon was struggling and lived in a 1-room studio accommodation. I felt a little privileged because I never saw her speak to anyone else in the neighborhood other than me. She did, of course, speak to her landlord, who came to collect money at the start of every month, the grocery shopkeeper right under her flats, the vegetable guy who came by during the day with a cart full of water-sprinkled vegetables, her maid, and me. She particularly avoided the landlord's son, who ogled at her when he accompanied his father for the rent. He even ogled at her on the street below every time she left for work in the evenings. I've seen her throw dagger-piercing looks at him at times, but she would never utter a word to him, not even respond to his leering, "Chinky Chameli, where to?" "That son of a bitch!" "Who?" I asked one Sunday evening as we lazily leaned against our respective balcony railings. "The landlord's son," she said. "He's the devil, I tell you. I can't stand the look of him." "Come on, now chill. He's harmless." "You think he is? Well, let me tell you, he likes to grab women's bums." "How do you know?" I blurted out, and bit my tongue when I saw her face. She pretended not to hear me. The landlord's son was a bad case. There was something about his eyes. Even I had noticed that, but I was a man too. And the fact that she felt safe with me and could confide about her feelings about the landlord's son to me somehow made me very proud of myself. She told me other things too, standing there in her balcony. That she's from the outskirts of Kohima, that she grew up singing in the choir at church, that her parents were actively involved in the movement that revived the folk in Nagaland, that chicken was so expensive back home that they usually got chicks, fed them, and waited for them to grow big before killing them for the cooking pots. That going back home was a long route. First, a train journey to Dimapur. She said she never saved enough for flights. And then a taxi ride that took her past Kohima to her village. I also learned that she didn't speak Nagamis at home. In fact, nobody in Nagaland spoke in Nagamis at home. They spoke their dialect, like how her family spoke in the Chokri dialect, which is one of the 3 languages spoken by the Chakisang Naga. Yes, she was a Chakisang Naga. I learned from her that everybody in Nagaland is not just a Naga. One belongs to a tribe and is distinguished in the manner they dress, their totem, and the dialect they speak. And there are several tribes in Nagaland. So one could be a Chakisang Naga, or Rengma Naga, Kuki Naga, Konyak Naga, Lotha Naga, Ziliang Naga, and such. And that's not it. There's more. She showed me beautiful hand-woven shawls from her collection and garments that she wore as wraparound skirts, all made by women in the family on loin looms. I'd never heard of loin looms before. Once she told me of them, I spent one whole evening on Google reading up and looking at pictures of loin looms. These looms don't have permanent fixtures. They can be easily set up and dismantled. They don't have heavy frames and are even portable. I stared for long at the pictures on Google. When the weaver sets up the loom, which is done by tying it to the waist, it seems like she becomes a part of the textile she is weaving, as her body becomes an integral part of the loom. Through my friendship with the girl in the balcony, I marveled at the intricacies and nuances of the various Naga tribes. She painted a picture of these intricacies and nuances like the bold, vibrant, and extremely symbolic piece of jewelry from each Naga tribe. Anyway, after more than 2 years in Delhi, a time when nobody from home ever visited me, one day I got news that mother was coming. "I want to see how you're living," she told me over the phone. "You know you're an eligible bachelor. All of us are so proud of you. There are about 50 mothers who want you to marry their daughters." I could sense her pride even over the phone. "I've never been to Delhi. Is it like Kolkata? I hope it is, because I love Kolkata." Mother came with a lot of homegrown vegetables which managed to stay fresh even after the 20-hour-plus train journey. "Rajdhani's AC, silly boy," was a pat reply when I raised my concern the day before she boarded the train. And she came with about 20 photographs of young women. "I like all of them, and we know their families too. All you have to do is decide which one you like. The rest will be taken care of." My mother came with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of pride to me. But she was disappointed from day one. "You live in this rat hole? What kind of a locality is this? Why are these electricity lines hanging in front of your building? This is dangerous. Do something." She thought these were serious issues until she saw the girl in her shorts and tank top across the balcony. Her long list of complaints hurled at me when I came back from work in the evenings got even longer then. What kind of a place do you live in? There's this half-naked woman right in front of your balcony lounging there all day. And in the evenings, she puts on nice clothes and makeup and leaves for God knows where. This is not good for you. I'll never come to visit you again if you don't look up a decent place to stay. The conditions I lived in had made her forego thoughts of my wedding for a while. Where will your wife stay if you got married? Here? No, Baba Moni. You have to change the place. You have to look up a nicer neighborhood, like the one where we live in Gwalpara, no? All decent people living together. Don't you know anybody else from Assam living in Delhi? Go live somewhere where there are a lot of Assamese people. I took her to the balcony and pointed out flats here and there around my building. Do you see that flat? An Assamese doctor who works at Safdarjung Hospital lives there. He's from Dhubri, and we listen to Pratima Pandey Borwa's Gwalparia folk songs on weekends. Happy? The fourth balcony from mine, there, you see that? A girl from Guwahati lives there. She teaches at Delhi University. Her roommate is from Assam too, and she works in the Human Resource Department of ICICI Bank. I showed her a few more flats around my building where many Assamese lived and whom I didn't know. Some were working professionals and some were students. Yet her taunts went on for one whole week and stopped only when the unexpected happened. The girl was at the grocery store downstairs when Mom was laboring with a miserable Hindi to tell the auto rickshawala who brought her home from the nearby market that she knew the exact fare and that he was charging a full 100 rupees extra. The auto rickshawala maintained no decency and aggressively argued with my mother. It was then that the girl walked up to the scene, demanded what was going on in her equally miserable Hindi, slapped a 50 rupee note at the back seat, and threatened the auto rickshawala with a tryst with the police if he continued opening his mouth. And then, with a final "shut the fuck up," screamed at the auto rickshawala, she held Mom by the hand and escorted her to her flat. At the door, she said in Nagamese, "If ever anyone troubles you again, let me know." That evening, when I returned home, Mother related the incident with an emotion-filled voice. After that, for as long as Mom lived in Delhi, she took food over to my balcony friend every once in a while. But then even the change of heart couldn't prevent a sarcastic note or two when smells of akhuni and bamboo shoot came wafting over from the other side. I wonder how she still survives with all those rotten things going into her stomach. Last January, after a 2-year-old balcony friendship, I came back home one evening to find the police right in front of our building and spilling out of her flat. Worked in a spa, a policeman was telling another with a particular look on his face. The other policeman let out a big, knowledge-filled "oh," as if that "oh" held the answer to many questions, as if that "oh" justified her death. A tension built up inside me. "What's happening?" I addressed the crowd gathered there. A guy replied, "Some girl from the northeast has been found dead, acid on her face." I panicked. There was sweat all over me. "What? Where?" Somebody pointed up and said, "4th floor." Thank you for listening.